What's happening, everybody? What's up, Penguin? What up, G? Hey, Lisa. I swear, anytime somebody says "What up, G" to me, I'm always gonna think of that dude, DeCarlo, dude. It's always gonna happen. What's up, Michelle? What's up, Scott? I will never, ever, ever forget that time uh when we saw Starship Troopers. That was now okay. Now, for those of you who did listen, I think I took it down only because I got cut off on the internet and I didn't want to keep it up. My internet got cut off, but um, it's I was talking about this friend of mine named DeCarlo. I won't get all into it again, but yeah, he's an over the top guy, but I miss him. I miss him because he was the kind of guy that not only was he like a pain in the ass to see in the movies, like to go to the movies with, not really a pain in the ass though, because as I explained before, like he got in everywhere for free. So if you're going to the movies with him, then you knew he knew somebody in the movie theater, and we were getting in for free, and we weren't going to have to pay for tickets, which was cool. But anyway, uh, along with being a loudmouth in the theater, he was also really, really cultured and self-cultured. Very interesting guy. Uh, he was learning Norwegian, and I think it was just so he could understand the lyrics of Norwegian metal. So you got to admire that kind of dedication. Um, to a certain degree. I mean, this is also at the same time a guy who sent as Christmas cards a picture of roadkill of a dead fox. So uh, he sent that to everybody. So hey, what's up, B Stinger and Megan? Minon, how you doing? Yeah, yeah, he's an interesting guy, man. But man, I love that guy. I mean, he took me to my first. Him and his dad took me to my first comic book convention. I'll never forget that. And that's when I got a copy of my first copy of Batman: The Killing Joke, which, in my opinion, is well, I'm not going to say that. I'll just simply say it's my personal favorite Batman graphic novel. Of all Batman graphic novels, that's my personal favorite. I'm not going to go and say it's the best. Um, I mean, because a bunch of them are really good and arguably the best. So I'm not going to say that. Um, man, a lot of the usual, almost all the usual peeps are here, like all in one shot. Man, that's really really cool. It's really good to see you guys. And I want to take a second while I'm on the subject. I want to take a second to thank anybody who's emailed me and used the email. That's really really cool. And I want to take a second to thank anybody who can't catch the live because I realize that I have really late hours and it's a lot. It's kind of difficult for people who have families or have to get up early for work, and are in my time zone. And I realize it's difficult for them to log in live. So I always get messages, hey, I'm sorry I missed your live, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I have the hours of an owl. So I apologize for that. But I do appreciate you guys catching these later on. And sometimes I take them down. So I do apologize for that. I do take them down sometimes just because normally it's because there's some technical difficulty and I don't even want to put you through it. I put everybody through the live because the people, bless everybody in the live, in the chat. They're all into what I'm doing and I'm into what we're doing. And then it gets all cut off abruptly. And I don't want to put anybody else through that. So that kind of sucks. So thanks to everybody who who comes into the live and puts up with my, third rate bullshit. It's it's pretty cool of you. Um, and yeah, yeah, Manon, you mentioned that that you don't sleep much. That's a bummer. I think that's like the worst thing is when you can't sleep. I love sleep, even though I don't do much of it, but it's kind of by choice. Um, but yeah, so again, I'm kind of just playing with this whole. I was gonna write something earlier, and then I ended up uh smoking a couple bowls with my buddy, and we got to talking because he's been in Tampa, and it was just kind of a one of those things you just kind of got to do, so I I was gonna write something and I didn't, but at the same time, I seem to like just kind of winging it, and you guys seem to like it when I just kind of wing it, and so um, that's what we're gonna do again tonight, and see what happens. And if it comes out shitty, then it comes out shitty. Fuck it. Um, so I'm gonna read something here, um, real quick. You'll have a good, secure life when being alive means more to you than security. Love more than money, your freedom more than public or partisan opinion, when the mood of Beethoven's or Bach's music becomes the mood of your whole life. When your thinking is in harmony and no longer in conflict with your feelings. When you let yourself be guided by the thoughts of great sages and no longer by the crimes of great warriors. When you pay the men and women who teach your children better than the politicians. When truths inspire you and empty formulas repel you, when you communicate with your fellow workers in foreign countries directly and no longer through diplomats. That is a quote by a guy named Wilhelm Reich. I believe I'm saying his name correctly. Um, and this was shared to me by our friend Irish. Um, and Irish is a very you guys. A lot of you are familiar with our chat buddy here, Irish, and she's one of the moderators. And hey, Boston Hippie, how you doing? And Shannon, hey, and K2 Scuba, what up? What up? Yeah, she's Irish is I've had a few really good conversations with her, and she's very well read, to say the least. And I would go as far as to call her again, I would probably refer to her as self-cultured as well. And I'm always fascinated by people like this. Hi, Catherine. I'm always fascinated with people like this. So just so you guys know, Irish is a lot deeper than the person that you guys don't get to see that but this is what I've been trying to do is I really want to like get to know you guys on an individual level like that. You guys can join the group, you guys can message me, you guys can email me, and I want to get to know who you are. I'm not joking about that. I'm not just saying that, for I mean whatever reason other than uh, what I'm looking for to benefit me out of it is simply just curiosity and getting to know you. That's really all I'm out for. Hey Ashley, how you doing? Wow, I haven't seen you in a long time. It's good to see you on here. Um, so yeah, that's really what I'm interested in. I'm really interested in getting to know everybody on a personal level, and I mean not to the point like not on a so intimate level that you got to share your deepest darkest secrets. And that's not what I'm asking. I'm just I want to talk to people one on one. I get a lot more out of that, and this is great, and I love this, or else I wouldn't be doing it. But I love the idea of getting to know uh, the people that listen on a personal level, if I can. So that would be really really cool. Um, so yeah, I think that this thing that I read just now. I don't know much about this guy. I just kind of Googled him for a second because, she said, hey, you and Shannon probably would get into this guy if we were talking in a chat, and she said, you guys would probably get into this guy. You should check him out. Shannon said, sure, I will. And I was making my coffee and I figured, why not just Google it? And I did. And, the little bit that I read about him, he's a pioneer in psychotherapy. But I have to look into it more. Again, I don't know anything about this guy. I just decided to like look through it and Google it, and I went a little bit down the rabbit hole of Google on this guy and came across some quotes, and that one really, really grabbed me right away. And I love when things like that happen. If you were listening last night, you heard me tell the story about the shoes that I was looking for. I don't consider these things accidents. And I'm not ready to call it God. I'm not ready to call it, I'm not even ready to call it luck. I don't know what it is, but I don't necessarily believe that these things are necessarily accidents, because I just, sometimes these coincidences are just too great, and it's great. So here I am. I'm looking through this guy's, I'm looking through this guy's quotes, and then I come across this one who, and this, like, everything that he said in there, I cannot agree with more. And to hear it from a psychotherapist, this is from a guy who really, from based on this one quote, I'm getting the vibe that he's the kind of guy that really genuinely wanted to help people, and he really wanted to make the world a better place, and he really wanted to relate to people and get people to relate to each other, or at least hoped for a world where people could relate to each other on this level. That, and the way that he worded it is just beautiful to me. So, okay, just for you, Boston, I'm going to go ahead and repeat it. And only because I love it that much, It's like hearing a song. I want to hear that song again. You know what I mean? All right. So, again, this is by a guy named Wilhelm Reich. And he says, you'll have a good, secure life when being alive means more to you than security, love more than money, your freedom more than public or partisan opinion, when the mood of Beethoven's or Bach's music becomes the mood of your whole life, when your thinking is in harmony and no longer in conflict with your feelings, when you let yourself be guided by the thoughts of great sages and no longer by the crimes of great warriors, when you pay the men and women who teach your children better than the politicians, when truths inspire you and empty formulas repel you, when you communicate with your fellow workers in foreign countries directly and no longer through diplomats. So this is absolutely beautiful to me, because so since I'm thinking out loud here, I'll go ahead and just break down everything that I get out of this one quote, just this one quote. This guy's sure that the happiness that one seeks, that we all seem to seek, will happen. The kind of security that we're all looking for is not necessarily financial security or financial success. That's not what he's talking about here. He's talking about that beautiful security to just be happy in your place in the world, knowing what your place in the world is and being happy with it, and being happy with your surroundings, and finding the beauty in beautiful things. The way he talks about Bach or Beethoven, and that the vibe of that music becoming the vibe of your whole being, that's why we love music, isn't it? I mean, isn't that why we listen to music? Is because it touches us in a way that 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 nothing else really can, honestly. I was listening. I remember I was in the gym today and I was working out, and after a workout, I like to shoot basketball in the basketball gym, and I'm not even good at it. Like, what I do is I just kind of shoot. I try to shoot 3-pointers and then chase after the ball. It's just kind of like a good little cool down cardio before I actually do my real cardio. Um, and I do that, and I was listening to one of my favorite bands. They're called Hot Water Music. I've mentioned them in lives before, but probably haven't mentioned them in a while. But Hot Water Music is fantastic to me. And one of the things that I love about them is how melodic they are without any of the traditional sounds that make music melodic. Like, there's these, two of the people in the band do vocals, but it's really rough and it's really raspy, and it's just, it sounds like yelling, but it's perfectly in harmony, and it goes with this beautifully harmonized instrumental section. The two guitars and a bass and drums, and the bassist and the drummer are on point together. They're just the entire foundation, and everyone just seems to follow each other. Not one person everybody following one person like a lot of bands are. Everyone seems to just kind of pass the torch to each other 100 different times in each song, and it's just a beautiful thing to really take notice of when you appreciate a good heavy rock band. And they're just fantastic at it. Uh, and there's this album that I never really listened to that much, and anybody who's listened to this and hears me say that I'm a Hot Water fan, and my next statement, they're gonna go, how can you call yourself a Hot Water fan? But I've been listening to No Division lately, which is a classic Hot Water album, but for some reason I never really listened to that album that much. I heard it a few times and I liked it, but I never really listened to it and got into it. And today I did that. Today I was just in my zone, doing my thing, feeling good about how last night went, feeling good about how, sleeping in today, and it just felt good. I just felt good today. I was in a good mood. And it's funny, for the past week I've been kind of in a little bit of a funk, not nothing too bad. It's just been weird, my mood, and it's all me. It's just me. It's just my own shit that I go through. And then I struggle with it, and then I'm trying to manage it, and it's just a lot of a hard mental work is what it is. And then and then you're trying to treat that hard mental work with physical exertion, and it's hard to motivate yourself. It's a really ironic thing to use exercise as a mood stabilizer when it's difficult to exert yourself when you're not in the mood to do so. So it's kind of like a catch-22 that you have to get over, and it's not an easy thing to do. So and here I was, like, finally feeling really good, and then this song came on, and I'll even go ahead and share the title of that song with you, so you guys could look it up. Because if you've never heard Hot Water Music before, and you like good rock music, you're in for a treat, because it's really, really great. And they have clearly the same artist for all of their album covers. Okay, the song is called Jet Set Ready, and it's on an album called No Division. And just listening to the changes in the song. I played the song 3 times in a row. Like I remember shooting baskets and just being like, God damn, that was a good song. And then going back and then, playing it again. And that doesn't happen too often. It does happen somewhat often for me. Because I just love music that much that sometimes a song grabs you, but it's been a while since a song really grabbed me. And it was really cool that a song grabbed me like that years, I mean, literally decades uh after I first discovered this band and started loving them, So that was a really cool thing to happen today. And so, and then Irish, uh just dropping that little recommendation just as an act of just kindness, of just sharing something that she gets into, and she thought, hey, what, these people might like that, and then told me and Shannon about it, and that was dope. That was super super dope. And then and that quote just really really grabbed me. Uh and I just love, you know I'd love to know when that quote was made. um but uh I believe I did read that it was post Freud. So I don't know. I'd like to know more about that. I'd like to figure out more about that. Find out if this guy was some sort of one of Freud's proteges, or what. Uh, but it's refreshing to see. Um, it's refreshing to hear about someone in history who genuinely felt uh, this inspiring way, um, and really dedicated their lives to being these inspiring people, and not for the purpose of being inspiring so much, but just for the purpose of of giving something, of having a useful place in society, not looking for fame, just genuinely wanting to help their fellow man. and and there's not enough people in history who have done that get enough credit, you know um, especially by uh, me never hearing about a person like this who thought of things so beautifully, you know so yeah, thanks, Irish, for sharing that. um Irish, if you're wondering where she is tonight, she mentioned that she had a prior engagement that she might have to do. So she might not be joining us tonight, but she's obviously missed. And um, while I'm on this page, maybe I'll just go through one or two more of this guy's quotes to see what happens. This one just popped out of nowhere. Let's see what this one says. You'll see the key word that caught my eye, by the way. The pleasure of living and the pleasure of the orgasm are identical. Extreme orgasm anxiety forms the basis of the general fear of life. Extreme orgasm anxiety forms the basis of the general fear of life. Man, that is deep. That no pun intended. That's amazing. So, um, so basically, what I'm getting out of this is this guy's theory on the orgasm. Uh, I mean, he doesn't word it that way. That's just kind of how I'm taking it, because I'm kind of crazy that way, and I'm taking it like the orgasm is this beautiful thing that we experience to remind us of how wonderful life can be. I mean, is it not? You know, it's pretty badass. um, and so uh, extreme orgasm anxiety, whatever that is. I guess that's a very, probably a very common saying in the field of psychiatry and psychology, but that's probably a very common thing. And he's basically saying that it's equivalent to the fear of life. So how ironic is that? What about the people who fear orgasm? What does that say about them? You ever met these people? Yeah, I know you're joking and being like, nope, no, but I mean, there's people that have thought of being. I mean, I don't think I've actually ever met one. If I did, we've never had this conversation. But the these people who something feels so intensely good, where they think of sex being so dirty and so bad and so ugly that the pleasure from it freaks them the fuck out, and then they end up all frigid and weird. Now please excuse me again, like I'm sitting here and I'm making quotes from what's probably a legend in the field of psychiatry, and I have an 8th grade education, really. So I'm doing my best here, so please keep that in mind when I'm trying to make sense of what this guy's saying in my own way. So I'm probably going to sound like a bit of a fucking moron, which I'm kind of used to. So maybe you guys should get used to it too. I don't know, but yeah, I feel like I feel like there's people out there that get just freaked out by having a good time, because I mean, for some reason they're taught or conditioned to believe that having a good time is wrong. I mean, we can get into that real deep. I mean, is it common practice to point out the things that bring us pleasure, and then just find the things that make them bad for us? Because I feel like we could find something wrong with everything. I feel like there's a yin and a yang to everything, not just everything as a whole, but every individual thing. There's got to be a yin and a yang to it. There's got to be a bad side and a good side, right? So I mean, there's the fear of STDs when it comes to sex. I mean, other than the fear of STDs or having kids when you're not ready, what's the downfall? I mean, basically you could just have sex responsibly, and technically there's really nothing wrong with it. I can't think of anything wrong with it, anything morally wrong with it. Now, if you use sex to hurt people, right, like rape, that's absolutely, completely, and totally reprehensible. I talked about that before, and I probably will talk about it again, because it's a subject that fires me the fuck up. But things like that, or people who use sex to manipulate other people to get what they want, that happens. They'll take advantage of someone's feelings for them in order to get what they want, and use sex as a very powerful tool in the process. But again, these aren't necessarily things that make sex bad. These are things that make the people who use a beautiful thing that much worse, in my opinion. Bad people who use a beautiful thing that much worse. That's what that does. And yes, no, I'm actually agreeing with you, Megan. Rape is not about sex. No. It's about power. It's about violence, and it is and it's awful. But my point is that sex is used to inflict violence on someone, and sex is used gain power over someone. And that's what makes rape so reprehensible and so ugly and so disgusting. Because it's not, it's just taking something that's so beautiful, you know? I mean, that's, I don't even have the words for it. You know, you're taking what I believe, to be, um, arguably the most beautiful gift given to each and every human being, is the pleasure from sex. It is literally physical pleasure that we experience through sharing ourselves with someone, through connecting with someone on an emotional and physical level. And we get to feel this bliss from it. So to me, that's the most beautiful gift that God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, has given us. As you know, apparently, from what I understand, there's only 2 species that experience this physical bliss from sex. So to me, that's amazing. You know, that can't be a coincidence. And whether it's a coincidence or not, it's not to be taken for granted, and it's most definitely not to be used in such a heinous manner. So, hey, Rebecca. Right. Scott, yes, sex is a great high. It's a natural high. It is it's literally a high. And how do we get it? We get it through wanting to be close with another human being, connecting with another human being on all these different wonderful levels. That can't be that can't be something to be taken for granted. It can't be. It's too beautiful of a thing. So, and Megan, okay, I might get a little controversial here. Okay, I'm going to read your comment. It says, for sure, and rape steals that pleasure often forever. See, I kind of disagree with that. And I'll tell you why. So before please bear with me. I'm not the best at explaining things, but I kind of disagree with that, in the sense that this goes back to the stuff that I'm usually talking about us individuals, as individuals, being in control ultimately of our happiness, right? I truly believe that someone can recover from the experience of rape. I think that I think I agree with you in the sense when you say, for sure, rape steals that pleasure often forever. I agree with you in the sense that, if what a rapist does, how they win by using rape against someone like that, by using sex to hurt someone and to overpower them, what they're doing is they're taking sex from that person. They're physically taking sex from that person, right? But what they're doing also is they're taking the pleasure from sex from that person. But it's that one time, and it can be traumatizing, and it can be horrible, and it no doubt is traumatizing and horrible. There's no such thing as somebody who's ever been raped and not been traumatized from it. But it becomes a point where that person can decide whether or not they will allow that person to have taken sex from them forever. Your sexuality is your sexuality. Your body is your body. Your pleasure is your pleasure. And if that rapist manages to take that from someone, then that rapist wins ultimately. They win ultimately. And that shouldn't happen. And it's easier said than done. I'm not saying, hey, you just snap your fingers and you get over it. No way am I saying something like that. I would never, ever, ever even insinuate that. But what I'm saying is, I do believe with all of my heart that at the end of the day, that is ours. Individually, it's ours for us to do with what we are capable of doing with it. And I believe it's within our power to make sure that sex is not ruined for us, that it's not ruined for me ever. Fuck you. I'm not letting you have that. You don't get to have that. It's mine. Fuck you. Go to hell, burn there, stay there, burning. But my sex is my sex. You don't get to take that from me. I believe that each person is capable of that outlook and capable of executing it to their advantage and to their victory. I personally believe this with all my heart. Yes. Again, with Noah Pothoven, that that was a case where she this is why what pisses me off more than anything about that case, about that situation, is she never got the chance to be taught that. I don't think anybody ever even got around to telling her this. You know, she had given up. She had completely given up. And the people around her seemed to encourage her giving up. Nobody laid it out for her and said, "Hey, you can fight, and this is why it's worth it." I don't think she ever got that opportunity. And that's heartbreaking. And that's why that situation makes me as angry as it does. That's absolutely heartbreaking. That poor girl. That poor, beautiful soul. I mean, she was creative. She was beautiful. She was, I mean, and here she was, just she had nothing but misery to express her creative side to. She had nothing but misery to feed with her creativeness. With her creativity is the word I should use, because that's the correct word and creativeness is the incorrect word. So I apologize for that. But yeah, she's, this poor girl, man. It's, let me look at the chat a little bit here. Penguin Do, you're saying, let me see, a victim can recover enough to enjoy sex again, but not all the time. There will still be bad days and hard circumstances to face. You have to fight to take back the control. Absolutely. No. I completely agree with you. That's basically what I'm saying. I'm not implying in the slightest bit that this happens all the time, that every person does this. I'm saying that every person can. I believe that they can. Now, I'm not saying that they should be faulted if they don't, because it's hard for us to find that strength within us. I'm saying that that strength is there. That's my argument. My argument is that the strength is there. It exists within all of us, but it's not as easy to get to as it is for others. So I'm not trying to say that that's not, I'm not trying to say that you're in some way at fault if you don't managed to dig deep enough for this strength. I mean, this girl, every sexual experience she had was rape in some form or another. How do you, what I'm saying about Noah Pothoven is that she was never given the opportunity. She was still so young, and she was never given the chance to take that back. Now, here's where I get hung up. Now, can you imagine how fruitful of a sex life someone like that would have once they've blossomed into a woman and they've managed to take that power back for themselves? Can you even begin to imagine? Because they would have more of a rewarding experience from sex than anyone, I would think, if they were able to overcome that and take it back after experiencing that. It's mind-blowing to think of it. Yeah, I mean, Penguin, do you're right. You saying from experience, a good support group doesn't always matter. You can have a great family and still take your life. Sure, of course. No, and that's why I say that we're all responsible for ourselves at the end of the day. But this was a child. It doesn't That same thing does not apply to her. Now, all the shit that I talk, about me, you know, applying this Galera concept, first of all, let me correct myself, because it's not shit. I believe in it wholeheartedly because I see results from it. I see results from it every day, multiple times a day. I see results from it. When I say multiple, I mean literally multiple, meaning I do one thing and then something else happens from it, and it kind of, you know, it just popcorns out, man. It's kind of awesome. But the difference is I'm in my early 40s, for fuck's sake. I'm not a teenager who the only sexual experiences I had were two rapes. That's it's not the same thing. She can't be expected to take charge of her life like that. There's no way. That's not, you know, there's no fucking way. What I'm saying is, if you're an adult and you're complaining about how your fucking life is going, then you need to fucking get your shit together and figure it out, you know? Because there's nobody that's affecting your life other than you. You have the power, you have the ability to remove yourself from shitty situations and create positive situations for yourself. That is what I'm saying. Period. And I stand by that. But when you're a child who is naturally still dependent on your elders, and when I say naturally, I mean naturally, of course, you are still a child. These people are responsible for you. You are not responsible for yourself yet. So that makes the adults responsible. And these people didn't step up. And they're gonna benefit from her book sales and whatever the fuck that's gonna end up generating. Because here we are, and everybody already forgot all fucking about her. Nobody's talking about Noah Pothoven anymore. That shit went on for like 4 days and then it dropped off the internet. Nobody gives a shit. So I don't know. That infuriates me, man. It infuriates me. Yeah, man. There's a shit ton of awful parents out there, man. There's a shit ton of them. You know, and you know, and some of them suck but they're doing their best. But others, they don't even try. They don't even try. They don't even try to even pretend like they care. Clara, yeah, thanks for listening. But also, I actually, if you subscribe to my channel, then you would see that I actually did an entire live on Noah Pothoven. It was one of the first ones I did, actually. So if that's something, if that's a topic that interests you, I did an entire thing on it. It was about an hour long, so feel free to check that out. That's it. I mean, that's if you're subscribed to me. Um, you should be able to see it. I mean, even if you're not, you should probably be able to see it. I don't know. Let me see. Oh, okay, Sarah. So rather than feud, he is than Freud. Freud. I said Freud like Bill and Ted's. rather than rather than Freud is considered the father of psychoanalysis. Freud gets all the credit. The quote may be post Freud's fame. So that's funny to me. That's funny to me because so this guy Reich is the Tesla to Edison, as he's to he's to Freud as as Tesla was to Edison, I guess. That's interesting. Um so yeah, I'm definitely gonna look into this guy a lot deeper, man. That's interesting. One of the downfalls, man, that's one of the things that I beat myself up about not doing well in school and then going to college is I missed out on a lot of fun knowledge. Um but the truth is back then I wouldn't have given a shit about any of this. That's what sucks about me is, man, if you guys would have known me when I was 19, 20, 30, you'd have been like, fuck this guy. See, Megan, see, I disagree with you there. You know, that's not the case. I'm going to admit that as a parent, that's not the case with my son. Um, like, if my son would have to have some sort of drive to want to improve and make and be completely independent, uh for him to be able to live under my roof. That's the only way. There's no way that I'm just going to let him veg out and do whatever the fuck he wants, you know. Now you've probably got kids with ambition and with drive. That's different, then of course, circumstances happen, shit, of course. Yeah. Come stay with me. Everything's going to be okay. But, you know, if if your kid is somebody who's having a hard time trying to figure out what he's going to do with life, but he's also at the same time not really doing much to figure it out, not even making the effort to figure it out, then your tune's probably going to change, you know. I am probably missing context. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, my son could call me at any given time, and if he's in trouble, I'm gonna help him. I'm gonna figure out a way to help him. But if it's going to enable him to follow similar patterns that got him into a shitty situation in the first place, no, I'm not doing that. That would be irresponsible. I'm not doing that. But of course, shit, if he's, in any really bad situation, I'm going to put my life on the line for him. Of course, he's my son. Okay, I see now, Boston Himby. Her kid is a child. All right. Well, yeah, yeah. That's how it was with yeah. I'm not going to get into my situation with my son totally, but yeah, I can absolutely relate to that. And yes, I totally agree. If that's the case, then I completely 150% agree. Right. I see that now. Your daughter is 8. Yeah. So, right. Yeah, of course. At 8 years old, it is our job, it is our duty to absolutely and 150% protect them, no matter what the cost, no matter what the sacrifice. It has to be done. You have to take care of your child. It does not matter. You have to figure it out, get it done. Absolutely. You have to be an account. Yes, you have to be accountable when you're an adult, and that's the trick. You have to you have to. I've said this before. From the ages of like being a toddler to being a preteen, we're teaching our kids how to not be assholes. Right? That's the goal. Teach them to not be assholes. Right? And by the time they're teenagers, to the time they're adults, we're teaching them how to be independent and how to be accountable, right? I mean, so yeah. So yeah, that's to me that's the goal, you know. I mean, that's our job. We have to prepare our children cuz the world is fucked up, man. So we have to what? We have to do what? We have to protect our children from the world. But we can't always be there. What's going to happen? It's inevitable. And at the same time, even if we try to, it's impossible. If we try to coddle them and protect them from the world their entire lives, they're going to outgrow us. We're not always going to be there. So the whole point, the fact that they're going to outlive us, is why we scientifically teach our children to take care of themselves. Yeah. Well, when they're going through puberty, Shannon, I'll say it, man. I don't give a fuck, man. Kids are assholes when they're when they're going through puberty. You gotta you gotta teach them like shit. I lost internet there, guys. Am I still am I still on here? Because I lost internet there for a second. That was crazy. Can you all still hear me? Type yes if you can. Yeah. All right, sweet. Oh, that was close. So yeah, Bee Stinger, man, I got you. Yeah, here. Let me approve that. Um, yeah, I was a shithead as a teenager too, man. It's amazing. It's amazing that I'm even fucking walking around. Like I was such a shithead when I was a kid. I was a difficult kid to deal with, man. My man, let me tell you about my mom, dude. Like my mom's a badass, you know? Like my all right, I'll give you a little will history. Um I my father died of a brain tumor when I was a year old, right? And my uh my mom was like half his age when they got married, you know. And she had just moved to this country, you know. She was born and raised in the Dominican Republic. She didn't know hardly any English at all. And then boom, my father just they didn't have CAT scans back then. He had a couple incidents where they were like, shit, something's wrong, you know, but then you know, they figured it out. But by the time they figured it out, there was no way to catch it. There was no way to fix it. You know, there's no way to remove it in time. Um, there's actually a funny story about that too, which I'll probably tell one of these days. Actually, I know it's weird me saying a funny story about my dad's brain tumor, but it's actually pretty fucking funny. And I wish I could tell it. I just need to know more details about it before I try to tell it on here. But yeah, it's actually my mom told me and my brother the last time we were in Seattle, um, and just hanging out, and so um, I but it was a very 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 funny story. But anyway, um, my mom, you know, went from, you know, you know, she was a housewife, and my father was a, you know, a blue collar working man, and he gets a brain tumor. He busted his ass his whole life, and he just, you know, pretty much drops dead. And now you got this woman in smack dab in the middle of the United States in, you know, the mid 70s, and she doesn't know what to fucking do, you know, but she does it. She gets it done. That's what parents do, right? They just fucking they adapt to the situation and they figure it out, you know. Now she wasn't perfect, but she fucking busted her ass, you know. I mean, she went from being this very atypical. I mean, her mother was a housewife, you know. I mean, a very atypical Hispanic woman, to being like, this shit isn't going to work. So I'm going to have to learn English, and I'm going to have to educate myself, go to school. I'm going to have to work. I'm going to have to work, go to school, and learn English. And I'm going to have to, and she's going to have to go to school in this country and pass. But not only did she pass, she like nailed everything. My mom's amazing. She's a fucking badass, dude. Um, and things were, it was tough growing up. It wasn't easy, you know. She did the best she could, but considering everything that she's accomplished, you know, there's there's no hard feelings, man. There's no hard feelings at all whatsoever, you know. Like I said, it was tough growing up, but it is what it is, you know. In lieu of the way that I see other people today, I'm glad I grew up, you know, having it kind of tough. You know, I still had good family around me. I was lucky enough to have that. Um, and you know, I'm still lucky to have that. I still have family that loves me, you know, and that's great. You know, a lot of people don't have that. Uh, and I spent some time in my childhood around people who didn't have that. Uh, and that's a very very humbling thing to see and be around on a 24-hour basis. Um, so, but you know, that's all those things considered, you know. my mom did everything that she possibly could, and she did it, you know, like full on, full throttle, you know. So, I mean, she set a very positive example, you know. I was just too much of a shithead, and I was just whiny and bitchy about how shitty my childhood was when I was, that I was the asshole, you know. But because, and I can say that because my brother went the different direction. My brother took my mother's example, and he went to school, and he did very well for himself, and now he's doing very well for himself, and he's living the very, very cookie cutter lifestyle, um and and right, Beasting, you're right. Parents make mistakes, but the thing is, the trick is we have to learn from those mistakes. Our parents are there to teach us right from wrong, but not just in the way of teaching us by telling us things. They teach us by making mistakes and giving us the opportunity to learn from their mistakes. You know, so as adults, we can't be expected to necessarily know this and do this as children. you know if you're a kid and you figure this out, then you're a genius. But as you get to be an adult, and then you start to have kids yourself, this is where this comes into play, and you need to start paying attention to it and start realizing, okay, this is how it goes. you know uh there's no there's no there's you know there's no handbook to this shit that's worth a damn. you know they don't hand you a handbook when you're having kids. How is there going to be a handbook that comes with each and every personality that gets popped into this world? It's just not possible. you know so you have to know your kid and adapt to that and their behavior to try to guide them as best as you can. The minute you try to control them, you're fucked. It's over. you know but when you try to guide them, try to lead them towards a good path at the right age, then you're doing okay. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're doing the best you can. That's that's all we can do. That's all we can do as parents. All we can do is genuinely love our kids and want the best for them, and want them and teach them to want the best for themselves. That's all we can do. There's nothing else beyond that. You know, Boston hippie. You're saying Bee Stinger, parental karma is real. You got two sons. It was one is easy breezy. The other is aging me way too soon. Widow at 42. Their dad passed away, so I got a lot on my plate. Wow, I'm very, very sorry to hear that, Boston hippie. That's yeah. Again. I get it. I get it. I've seen it. I lived it. It's fucking crazy. Um, but I promise you, if you're doing the best you can, your kids are going to appreciate everything you're doing. I guarantee it. Wow, Maria, you're lucky. I mean, a lot of kids need discipline. See, that's the thing. That's where I get hazy on the whole disciplining kids thing. Whether spanking's wrong or not, blah blah blah. You know, you can't judge somebody just because you know that they spank their kids. I don't believe that. Because you don't know what it takes to discipline that kid. You don't know that kid. You don't know what their what their dynamic is like with those parents behind closed doors. You don't know anything. You don't know anything. So for somebody to be like, oh, you spanked your kid, how dare you, you're a horrible person. Oh, you don't fucking know. So, and some people don't have to discipline their kids at all. you know some people can just reason with their kids, and their kids are receptive towards it, and they reason right back, and it's just very happy, great. But yeah, I mean, uh I believe spanking to be a last resort, you know but I've seen situations, and I've been in situations where it's necessary. um but you know and by saying been in situations where it's necessary, I've been spanked because that I was like, fuck you and fuck the world, and I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want. What are you gonna do about it? Because I was smart enough as a little kid to be like, what are you gonna do about it? you know I would manipulate the fact that nobody wanted to hurt me, and then use that to get what I wanted, until somebody was just like, you know what, motherfucker, I'm tired of this shit. you know and that's when it becomes necessary. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. you know um but a lot of families don't have to do that, and good for them. Yeah, like that's the thing. If dad has to get into it, I feel like the traditional dynamic should be that, like, where, you know, whether it's mom or dad, it doesn't matter. But if there's one person who works super, super hard and is concerned about making sure that there's food on the table and all this kind of shit, and then they've got to resort to dealing with dumb little fucking domestic fucking childish bullshit in the house, then, you know, if that person has got to do lay down the law, then they got to lay down the law, because they shouldn't fucking have to you know so if it gets to that point, B Stinger, like, yeah, that's probably the case. Like, you know you're saying your dad smacked but your mom didn't, but you listened to dad. Well, that's probably because, it's probably not because your dad smacked necessarily. I mean, I don't know, I wasn't there, but I'm thinking like it's probably a situation where uh dad was like, look, man, I'm not putting up with all this bullshit with all the other shit I got to deal with. So I don't have time or patience to sit here and reason with you and try to figure shit out. If it gets to the point where your mom can't handle it, you're getting smacked. Right. The whole wait to your dad. That's exactly what it is. The whole wait till your dad gets home thing. You know, like, you're getting your ass whooped if dad has to get into it, or in a lot of cases, mom nowadays, it is what it is. And let me tell you, man, like, if it ever got to the point where my mom was that mad, shit, me and my brother, man, we were scared, dude. We were scared, man. Yeah, you do not want to see a Hispanic woman on a rampage, dude. Let me tell you that right now. Like, you guys don't know what a chancletazo is. You don't want to know. Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying, B Stinger. That was a great dad, but he's not going to put up with bullshit. Right. And yeah, Boston Hippie, I'd love to hear your story. I would absolutely love to. Um, Scott, Scott's dad was 6'7" and around 260. So he was a good kid. I hear you. Yeah, man. Um, Yeah, that was the other thing. Dad being larger than life. I mean, that's how my uncle was to me, my mom's brother. He was the male figure that we were lacking in our lives, in our everyday lives. So my mom made it a point, uh, not for that reason. I mean, they were brother and sister, and they were just very close. But he just naturally took that role with my brother and I, where he, you know, if it came down to it, and let me tell you, man, if my mom couldn't handle us, shit was getting bad because, and you know, so it wasn't often. My mom could pretty much handle everything, but you know, if it got to a point where she was bringing my uncle into it, oh shit. Yo, let me tell you, you want to see a kid scared, man? That was scary. That was scary as hell. Because he was a doctor, and he was always, you know, he always had to make hospital calls and everything. Just you know, he was rarely ever home. So when he was home, man, this dude was trying to sleep. It didn't matter what time it was. He was trying to sleep because he wasn't home very often. And and if he was dealing with our bullshit, he had his own 3 kids, dude. He had his own 3 kids, and he's dealing with me and my brother. Nah, man. Nah, he didn't have time for that bullshit. there's there's no way. Um, and this was a patient guy, man. He never yelled, man. I never heard him yell. He would just, you know, he'd give me a look. I remember being a little kid, and he would, you know, do this thing where, you know, I would talk back to my mom, or I'd get lippy around him, you know, and he would just give me this look, you know, and then like he'd flex his bicep and be like, "Oye niño, mira eso, tu eso, macana, macana," and I'd be. And I would freak out. I would be like, all right, you know, that's all I needed. That's all I needed, which pretty much translates like like, you see that arm, kid, like that's you're gonna get the machine, and you don't want the machine, you know. So, so yeah, that put me in check pretty quick. Yeah, that's it. The look, Scott. That's it. The look. That's all it is. The look. That worked with my son too when he was little. That the same thing with my son. I would just give him the look, you know, and that worked. And then he became a teenager, and then um but the thing was, you know, I won't get too deep into that, but my son, he went through a lot, man. He went through a lot. And him getting to a point as a teenager looking at me like, what the fuck are you gonna do? It wasn't like, what the fuck are you gonna do? I'm not scared of you. It was like, what the fuck are you gonna do that is possibly gonna be any worse than I've already had to deal with, you know? So that was really, really challenging. You know, that's really challenging. One smack a year, huh? Just picture your pops. Like, oh, a week before Christmas, but all right. Yeah, man, Scott, dude. Yeah, mom's look is like that too. I think the thing with mothers though, it has nothing to do with the gender. I don't think that's it. I think it's just that we're around mom a lot more than dad, traditionally speaking anyway. That we're around mom a lot more than we are dad. So it's natural for us to just try mom once in a while and just be like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm tired of this shit, you know? Fuck you, lady, you know? And then they gotta beat us down once in a while, you know, after the looks don't work anymore, and after we're just like, fuck this lady telling us what to do, you know, like, then you know the real shit has to come out, you know, and we got to be put back into our place. The teeth grit talk, I know that. Yeah, that's universal, man. The teeth grit talk, that's real. Yeah, my mom had this thing where she would just, like, if we were in public and acting stupid, That's one thing my mom didn't like. My mom didn't like to you know, she didn't like us to behave in a certain way in public. She didn't like that shit at all. That would really get under her skin. So what she would do is just kind of like, smile and pinch us and give us a look while she's smiling, which was the scariest shit in the world. And that, so that would be enough, and we'd be like, all right, that's it. But not me, man. I screamed and I threw a fit. I was a terrible child, man. I was terrible. My mom didn't know what to do with me. Me and her had a battle of wills, and it just, she would win most of the time, but even when she didn't win, it wasn't like I won. We both lost because I'm the kid and she's the she's the parent. That's the end of the day. It is what it is. You know. Yeah, man. Yo, don't underestimate that teeth grit, dude. Like, because that's when mom is pissed, dude. She's trying to like, that's the physical expression of, I'm trying to manage my feelings and manage my and manage my rage at you that is like this close to coming out, and I'm trying not to do that because you're my child and I love you. That's that's some scary shit, you know. Yeah. Yeah, the counting works until a kid decides what happens when it gets to six, you know. Counting works up until that point, and then you're just like, ah, shit. And then you got to be real. You got to meet them. You got to meet them with something. I mean, come up with something, some sort of punishment, some sort of discipline. But you got to do it now because they're calling your bluff. They're like, "What do you got?" And that's it. Yeah, Scott, you're right. Parents have that last laugh as soon as they see us with kids, they get it. And I'm real lucky, man. My mom never did that. Like, I guess because things with my son were like really, really serious, but really it was just my mom coming through. My mom was just there as a support system right away, just like, we have to fix this. We have to get to the bottom of this and we have to fix it. That was my mom. Um, like if it's just petty dumb shit, then yeah, they enjoy it. But but when it comes down to like shit getting really, really heavy and really serious, uh, I can honestly say my mom, like, oh man, she came through and then some. Like I have nothing but gratitude and love for my mom. I mean, she's incredible. It's like to have my mom at my age now, I'm like the luckiest guy in the world. Um, so yeah, um, I'm only sorry that it's taken me so long um, to really appreciate everything that my mother has done and gone through for my sake, for my brother's sake. All right, so I'm gonna change the subject here. I'm gonna change the subject a little bit because I like to try to keep things light too. You know, uh, so I was talking in the chat, and I kind of feel weird because I wish I had Irish here because I was talking in the chat with Irish and Shannon, and we were talking about. I think Shannon was saying that she was watching some Nicolas Cage movie, and and Irish had some really nasty things to say about Nicolas Cage, and I'm one of the few people that just love Nicolas Cage. I think Nicolas Cage is great. I don't like his movies necessarily, at least not any of the ones he's made in maybe the last 10 years. Um, but uh I love Nicolas Cage, dude. Like I can still I mean I can watch some of these bad movies. I think I caught one on cable the other day and it was called yeah, Scott, he's still making movies, man. Yeah, Nick Cage is still out there making movies, my man. Yes. Now, to call them movies is debatable in all fairness. they're, they're pretty shitty. Um, but he yeah, I caught one on cable called Drive Angry. I was loving it. I mean, it was a horrible movie, but it was really fun to watch. Um, I mean, I read the synopsis when I hit info, and and it said something about a man goes to prison, gets killed, and then goes to hell, and then comes back to Earth to save his daughter from a satanic cult. Um, and I was like, I'm watching this. I mean, naturally. So, um, oh, the movie that you were talking about, Shannon. What was the name of that movie? You said he fucks so much in that movie. It's hard to look. Oh man, yeah. Now, okay, I'm not. See, I'm coming from a different. See, that's the thing, man. This is the thing that it's tough about having such a. You know, my audience is mostly female here, man. So you guys are looking at him. It's such like a sex symbol or not a sex symbol. I just see him as an actor, and he's brilliant. I think he's fucking brilliant, dude. Like I look at movies like The Family Man. His performance in The Family Man is fantastic. Um, The Weatherman is a great movie too. That's the Nick Cage movie that everyone nobody saw, but everyone needs to see. The Weatherman is great. I absolutely love that movie. Um, but um, but then you have all these. I mean, first of all, there was the remake of what was that Christian movie that he did? Thanks, been on. Yeah, my mom is beautiful. Um, what is the name of that Christian movie? Um, um, I don't know, something about disappeared or what the fuck is that? It's about the rapture, right? Um, it's about the rapture. What is? Oh God! And I can see the font of the movie in my head. And Kirk Cameron did Left Behind. There it is. Just popped into my head. Okay, Left Behind is the name of this movie. Um, and then Nicolas Cage does a remake of it, which is like, why the fuck are they remaking this movie? And you know, Nicolas Cage is not a born again Christian. This is just Nicolas Cage going, oh man, okay, the Rapture, yeah, I'll make a movie about that, sure, yeah, and yeah, Raising Arizona was great too. Um, Shoot, Shag, Mary. I never saw that. I never even heard of that. Kevin Spacey, Matthew Broderick, and Nicolas Cage. I have to watch that now. Um, but yeah, I loved and somebody mentioned The Rock. He was good in The Rock, but the problem with that is a Michael Bay movie. Michael Bay movies are never good. Just a lot of big budget blowing up stuff. You know, some of them are enjoyable for what they are. Oh, you said shag, and yeah, we say fuck over here. You say shag. Sorry. So, okay, shoot. So, kill, fuck, or marry Kevin Spacey, Matthew Broderick, or Nicolas Cage. This is funny. I'll leave that one up to the chat. All right. So, mommy for the win. Easy. It's easy. So, shoot Spacey, fuck Broderick, and marry Nicolas Cage. Really? That's interesting. Um, I don't know. I don't get the vibe that Broderick is much of a lover. I don't get the vibe that any of them are. And yeah, well, yeah, this is not a good one because Spacey's gay. By the way, so you got no choice but to shoot him. He's useless to any of you, right there. So, game over. Sorry. Yeah, Spacey's out of the closet, gay. You guys didn't know that? Yeah, he he yeah, after the whole thing with the yeah, he okay, so okay, here we go with the creep thing. I was just about to get into that. So Kevin Spacey, during the entire that whole Me Too movement, somebody came out about him, and it was the one fucking guy in the movie Dazed and Confused who never went on to do jack shit, right? Surprise, surprise. So now I'm not excusing Kevin Spacey's behavior, but this shit fucking happened over 20 years ago, what this kid came out about. And what happened was Kevin Spacey got super fucking drunk, and he came on to the kid and came on to him a little too hard. And I don't even think that he even exposed himself or anything like that. He just like kept like hugging up on him and trying to seduce him, and the kid kept saying no, and then finally the kid just got up and left, and he was just a overly drunk gay guy, and it happened over 20 years ago, and it's the only person that came out about him doing that. So, you know, I'm not well, maybe I am making an excuse for him, but I'm not justifying it. I'm saying it's one of those things that it's not like he raped anybody. It's not like he might have made the kid feel uncomfortable, but he wasn't a child. He was a kid in the sense that, like, was he young? Yeah, but he wasn't underage, you know. Um so uh I mean, and then this kid who never had anything happen with his career comes out in the midst of all this Me Too bullshit, and then Kevin Spacey gets ostracized from Hollywood, and I think he made a mistake, but it wasn't so severe of a mistake that it should have ruined such a talented man's career, you know. Now maybe I don't know all the facts. Maybe I don't know all the facts, and that's why I feel the way I feel about it. But um I I love Kevin Spacey, you know. I think he's incredibly talented. Um and I can't think of one performance of his that I didn't like. I may not have liked all of his movies, but his performances were great. And then they go and they reshoot this the movie in the middle of everything, everybody just kind of, puts up the cross with with their fingers like, vampire, like, don't go anywhere near Kevin Spacey, and then he's in the middle of shooting this movie with Mark Wahlberg, All the Money in the World, and then that's what it's called, All the Money in the World. And then, at the last minute, they get Christopher Plummer to reshoot all the scenes. And I don't have anything against Christopher Plummer, but I don't give a shit about that guy. Every time he shows up in a movie, I'm just like, they couldn't get somebody else, honestly. I mean, and last minute they get him to do this part, and you know, I remember seeing the trailer for the movie before they got Christopher Plummer to reshoot all of Kevin Spacey's scenes. Um, and and the makeup was amazing, and his acting was amazing just from the trailer. I was so interested in seeing it, and then when I saw Christopher Plummer doing it, I just saw Christopher Plummer being Christopher Plummer. That's all I'm saying. I didn't see any effort put into it at all. So I tried to watch it, and I was bored out of my fucking mind because all I kept thinking was, man, I wonder how good this would have been if Kevin Spacey was still been in it. um Yeah, that would have been more interesting, Scott. I mean, anybody would have been more interesting than Christopher Plummer, and there's nothing against him. I mean, I know of all his Hollywood accomplishments. I'm just not a big fan, where, I mean, whenever I see Christopher Plummer, he's always playing the same type of role, and he's never somebody that I'm like, it's always like the evil rich white guy. Always. It's always the evil rich white guy. Yeah, bee stinger. I think about that sometimes. Okay, so you're saying you've been dealing with the Me Too assholes your whole life. It happens every day. True, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say it shouldn't. It shouldn't. Um, So I'm not against the Me Too movement. I don't want to come off like that. I think that it was a necessary movement because there was a lot of people really abusing their power, and there was a lot of men really, really objectifying women in a very, very horrible way. Now, if a woman chooses to objectify herself, that's her choice. I have nothing against that. So I'm not speaking from a feminist perspective where women should never be objectified. I'm saying if a woman chooses to be objectified, then that's her choice, and she should be not only supported but respected for it because she's doing whatever the fuck she wants to do. So I'm pro women doing whatever the fuck they want, but a lot of people really abused uh, their power in Hollywood, and really hurt these women, you know. And it happened to a lot of really talented women too, and it's really sad. I mean, I remember I read Salma Hayek's she wrote an article about her experience, and they published it, I think, in Vanity Fair, I think. And I read that, and I don't know if anybody's familiar, but her big thing that she was coming out on was her big thing that she was coming at what with her taking charge of her career. Her big moment was the film about Frida. She produced that movie, and she starred in it. um and and there's a scene, I remember seeing this scene, and there's a scene where Salma Hayek is nude, and she's in a lesbian sex scene. Um and that had nothing to do with Frida's biography. Weinstein's fucking trashy ass like insisted on it and basically said, if you don't put that in the movie, your movie's not happening. And that's how this is going to go. And he just wanted to see that happen. He was just a sick fuck that wanted to see that he wanted to use his power to see Salma Hayek in a nude lesbian scene. I mean, that's pathetic. You know, can you imagine like having your artistic integrity compromised like that? Uh, so right, and she vomited before doing it. Right, yeah, Megan. I mean, this is that was awful. You know, no woman should have to experience that in the workplace, at home even. No woman should ever have to experience treatment like that. So I do believe I see what you were saying, B Stinger, about it, but you know, I I I feel like it shouldn't happen. I think it's sad that women find it it's part of everyday life, like toughen up, it's going to happen and deal with it. You know, eh, yes and no, I get it. You're finding, the strength to adapt to a situation and deal with it. And picking your battles, which takes a lot of guts, you know. But that's something that the women, in my opinion, just should never have to deal with. Um, I think that's terrible. Yeah, no, you're right, B Stinger. It happens to women every day. And that's something you guys deal with every day. It's horrible. Like catcalling and shit. That's fucking, that sucks. It sucks. Oh, I love Joe Rogan, Shannon. I was listening to him talk with, I haven't seen that, but um I don't even really listen to his entire episodes. I love Joe Rogan, don't get me wrong. But like what'll happen is I'll just be just, going through my YouTube feed, and a lot of Joe Rogan stuff pops up, and then I click on it, and they're usually about 5 to maybe 15 minutes long. But I had not caught that one. Right, Megan. You're saying the Spaceys of the world got pulled under the tide of the Weinsteins. Two different scenarios. The Weinstein camp so overdue. Absolutely. I could not agree with that statement more. I could not agree with you more. Um, I yeah, I think it sucks. I think it's terrible, like Aziz Ansari. Apparently, this guy, you know, he got lumped up with fucking uh this shitbag Louis C.K. I mean, Aziz Ansari just had a bad date, you know, and I mean, I read the article of what happened, and it's like, okay, well, he's a douchebag, but you know, it's it doesn't necessarily make him. I mean, I wouldn't behave that way on a date, but I hear about guys doing that all the time. And again, I don't think it should happen, but we're not talking about a guy who was notorious for behaving this way. This is a guy who we don't even know his side of what happened that night necessarily. You know, he basically didn't argue about it because he has a publicist saying, "Hey, dude, listen, there's all this shit going on, and the best fucking thing for you to do is shut up and apologize, and that's it." No matter what he's sitting there saying, "Oh man, I don't fucking know what happened. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know." Like that's not what happened. She's saying this, and I could tell you word for word what the fuck I said. Blah blah blah. None of that matters, dude. All you can do in this particular climate is shut the fuck up and apologize if you want your career to continue. And it's probably dead anyway. Right? So we don't know what happened, you know? And to me, common sense dictates there's not a whole bunch of women coming out going, Aziz Ansari's a fucking shitbag. There's just that one woman saying that. you know? So the behavior described, no, I don't condone that behavior. But at the same time, uh, you know, we don't even really know if that's exactly what happened. And there's nobody else coming out saying this. So, and I'm not even an Aziz Ansari fan, really. Yeah, he's all right. Um, like his first couple of stand-ups I liked a lot, and then I don't know, his shtick to me just kind of it wasn't something that sticks with me. I'm not saying it got worse or anything like that. It's just something that I didn't maintain a whole lot of interest in. And but yeah, it's crazy because going back to Kevin Spacey, this is a guy who I didn't know was gay. You know, I grew up in Miami. My gaydar is pretty on point, and uh, you're saying Aziz cannot be rapey. Nah, I know you're joking, but I mean, I don't. It's not that he was rapey. He was super. He was ultra douchey, is what it was. You know, like I mean, I don't remember it exactly. I read about it when it happened, and what I read was what I remember reading. I could be remembering it wrong, so don't quote me on it. I don't know, but something to the effect of I like they were making out, and it was, but she felt pressured the whole time. But I remember reading it thinking, like, why didn't she just fucking say, "Hey, I'm done and I'm going home. Fuck off," at any given point. But during her art, her written uh her written account, she kept excusing that. I could have done this and I could have done that, but I felt that he was, I'm on a date with a Hollywood guy, and or I didn't want to be rude, or and she was saying weird shit. Um, but that just indicated to me that anything could have happened. You know what I mean? But from what I understand, they were like they were being sexual with each other, and and his dick came out. You know, I mean, I don't, and yeah, maybe he was just being somewhat presumptuous because he's a big Hollywood star, and maybe that's just what he does. Maybe he just whips his dick out and girls like it. And he's never had anybody go, "Oh my god, that's not okay." You know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what happened, but all I know is she was the only one that came out and said anything, and his career was put on hold. Now he's got a special on Netflix. I started to watch it, but I was like, oh, this is the same old shit that I don't even really like all that much. So I stopped paying attention to it. But well, mommy for the win. I'm just saying, some women like that. I don't know. They do. I can't explain it. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's true, Bee Stinger. I mean, I gotta go with you on that. I'm really grateful to have the people on this channel that I have, because, uh, I mean, I say some pretty controversial shit sometimes that I expect to be attacked over from time to time. But I'm glad that even people who don't like it practice the whole scroll and roll thing, man. Like, if you don't fucking like it, don't be here. Nobody seems to lash out in the chat, and it's pretty great. So yeah, thanks a lot for that, guys. It's pretty cool. Yeah, this is a very, very chill chat. Like, I wouldn't mind it growing, but I'm perfectly happy with it not. To be perfectly honest, I really, really like the vibe. I really enjoy the vibe. And Megan, I don't even think we've ever even gotten to a point where we were actually debating, which is well, yeah, I guess I said I disagree with certain things, um but yeah. Thanks for pointing that out, Beasting. That was a really, really nice observation. Really nice of you to point that out. Thank you for that. It's a great, great compliment. Because this is exactly what I wanted to do with this. Um, I don't feel like I'm giving you guys 100% of me because, like I said, I totally pulled some underachiever shit tonight, and I just got stoned with my buddy and decided to fucking come on here. Like, but I figured it would at least be, like this. I didn't expect to touch on such such controversial subject. But but uh but now that I did, and here we are talking about them very freely and very maturely. Yeah, I'm really grateful for that. That's really great. No, mommy for the win. I am not in California. I'm on the other end of the country. Oh, you're cool too, Bee Stinger. Thanks. Yeah, Minon, I wonder about that too with the whole whipping it out. I don't even want to get into the horror stories of Harvey Weinstein, but I mean, he did some fucked up shit. So did Louis C.K. I mean, that's my whole thing. I mean, I don't understand how you just I understand if you're in a I understand if you're in a situation. Hold on a second. Let me do something. I'm gonna do this shit with you guys live here. I'm getting a message from Danielle, and I don't even think she knows that we're live. So, um, I'm gonna just send her like a yo, hello, asshole. We're over here. I mean, of course, I didn't say that, but so we'll see if she joins us. Um, yeah, Danielle, we're talking about dick pics, so you need to get up in here. She's like, "Oh shit, I'm coming there right now." It's funny. All right, so, um, Beastie, you're saying your friends show you how guys send dick pics to them, and you just can't even for a second think how that would get anywhere with you. It's gross. Yeah. See, now here's the thing about that. All right. Now, Here's my disclaimer. I'm just gonna go ahead and say what I'm gonna say by starting with this. Um, that that face app thing and the whole thing with Russia getting a hold of my pics. Well, I hope they're ready to be impressed. I hope there's a whole bunch of Russians out there ready to be impressed because they're gonna see a whole lot of my dick. Um, and the thing is I'm a single guy, man. And what happens is I get situations with women sometimes, and I like to explore things sexually. I like to do things, and one of those things, man, using technology today, I I like I like having that kind of interaction, that tease before we meet type thing, you know? But it's not like I just fucking send a picture of my dick out there. That doesn't, I mean, that's ridiculous. Who the fuck does that? That's really weird. And apparently a lot of guys do that. I in particularly do not. I am not like that. But um when there's a vibe with someone and pictures start to get sent back and forth, I'm all about that shit, and that's okay. I don't see anything wrong with that. And I stand by that. And whatever fucking kind of criticism I'm going to get for that, I'll take it. I don't give a shit because you're not going to fucking tell me what I should like and what I shouldn't like when it involves consenting adults. So you can fuck off with your judgment. But the fact of the matter is, yes, I agree with you in the sense that there's no fucking reason why any guy should just willy nilly, you know, all of a sudden some woman is sitting there going through her phone and texting with somebody and thinking they're having a nice conversation. And then boom, you know, they open up a picture of somebody's junk, without it being asked for. So no, that's not okay. That's not okay. See, at least okay, Boston hippie, I'll say this. You're saying some chicks like that. Okay, well, I've never met a woman that admits to liking it anyway. So I just assume that they don't. I think it's safe to assume that women don't like that, so I don't do it. They send it like a conversation starter. Um yeah, I mean, what I mean, I'm not even going to try to like relate to what you know, how is that even a conversation starter? I mean, if I were to open up a picture and it's just some girl's vag, you know, I'm gonna be like, what the fuck is that? You know, first of all, like unless they take the time, because even still, all right, I'll even go as far as to say this. There's been women who send me pictures, and it's like this close up of what they've got, and the fuck am I supposed to do with that? I'm like, okay, you know, I mean, I I don't know why you just sent me this picture that looks like something out of a biology book. You know, there's nothing enticing about that. Now, if a woman sends a picture where I don't know, like her legs are spread and I can see a pose that she's in and that happens to be showing in the process, that's a different story. But just a random, just like close up of female genitalia, that's not hot. There's nothing hot about it. So I don't imagine just a random close up of a guy's genitalia is going to have much more of an impact on a woman. So I just don't even see trying to read Mommy for the Wins here. Mommy for the Win says, I think the only reason ever for a true dick pic is if you are on some hookup only app. My guy friend who is gay literally just meets guys online for sex. So at least he knows what he is getting. See, that's another thing. You know, when it comes to the online dating world, it makes sense. I mean, you know, eh, I mean, you've never met this person and you're vibing, you're talking and you're having a great conversation and you seem to like a lot of the same things, and it makes sense to know what you're getting into because man, how disappointing that must be for a woman. How disappointing that must be that this guy gets you so hot and bothered, and then all of a sudden, you know, you you fucking meet and then you unzip his pants and he's got a jelly belly, you know, for a dick. That's gotta suck. That's gotta be super fucking disappointing, man. So, I've met women who are just like, I have to have something of substantial size, that's the only way they're satisfied, and they're open about it, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with a woman knowing what turns her on, what she wants, and what her standards are. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But um you know I'm just saying, and for her to have some sort of visual proof so she doesn't waste her fucking time, shit, it's practical, you know? I don't it's practical. I, so I don't blame a woman for that at all, you know? I mean, yeah, maybe the female genitalia thing for me, maybe it's because I was a body piercer for so many years and it was just, I can't help but get that medical side out of it, out of take that away from it. You know, I've pierced vaginas that look like Tommy Lee Jones. It's it's not something that you analyze and look at when you're in the you're in the throes of passion. It's not that's not but when someone sends you a picture of a close up of this, it's like, well, you know, uh, that doesn't really do anything for me. It doesn't mean I don't want to see you anymore, but it's like it's not really doing anything for me. But boob pics, man, I'll take boob pics all day. I'm a big fan of those. I love boobs. I love them small, big, whatever. I love boobs. Uh, everybody's asked. I get that question. Are you a boob man or an ass man? I was like, dude, I'm a man. It's like, it doesn't matter. I don't give a shit. Oh, look, Boston. If that's what she's into, there's a huge market. If she's single, she's okay. Yeah, man. All men love boobs. Yeah, Scott. Okay, you're saying when you were in Europe, sex photo swapping was common, especially in Germany. Oh man, yeah. There's some crazy, yeah. There's some wild shit going on in Germany, man. I mean, I've never been there, but you know, I have the internet. I've seen what Germans do. They're ahead of the game. That's for sure. Yeah, mommy for the win. I even women appreciate boobs. Even women love boobs. They're. I mean, what's to not like about them? They're soft. They're awesome. They move. You know, they're great. I mean, There's nothing not to love about boobs. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Boston hippie, man. That's it's frustrating to be a single woman, man. Let me tell you, I can understand that, man. There's so many of us guys who are douchebags. Even us nice ones are douchebags. I mean, it is what it is. We're men, you know. Uh, you know. Sometimes I'm just like, well, we're men, and sorry, Sometimes I'm totally ashamed of my gender. There's some guys out there that make me totally ashamed of my gender, and see here, you seeing her. I have some really beautiful girlfriends that want to cry when they tell me being talking to someone, and then boom, they dick pick them. Yeah, man, that's crazy that just happens like that. I don't know. I don't know, man. I have no way of justifying that behavior at all. I'd love to speak for my fellow man and be like, well, you know, this is why, but no, that's I I can't justify that. I can't justify that. Um, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, I mean, men are just sexual creatures, Danielle. It just is what it is. Um, Men are just sexual creatures, and some of us are shitheads about it, you know. Um, I don't know. Yeah, mommy for the win. I can tell you with all honesty, I am not self conscious about my dick. uh, um, I guess some guys probably are. I'm not. Um, but I mean, again, you know, I I love my dick. You know, it's one of my favorite parts of myself physically, but I don't feel the need to just like, here you go, check it out. Yeah, no, that's funny that you typed at the same time as I said it, man. It is, yeah, it's super hot. It's super odd. See, Scott, I don't agree with that analogy 100%. That saying, a lot of people use that saying, a lot of men think with their dicks. And I get the metaphor, where they're just, and that's what's driving them and that's what's making decisions for them. I mean, the truth is you know, that's we're all doing that to a certain degree. We're all doing that to a certain degree. We're all sex is the driving force for us to do what we do, you know. I mean, why do we want nice cars? Because we think it'll impress a woman. Why do we want a nice house? Why do we want financial security? Because we think it'll impress women. You know, why do we want nice clothes? So on and so forth. We, you know, why it's we want to impress women. We want to woo them. We want to flatter them. We want them to want us because we want them clearly, and women can seem to do with or without us. You know, and the women that seem to just really need a man, we're like, ooh, gross. Nah. Like if I smell desperation on a woman, I am out. You know, um, and that's just human nature. That's just how men are. That's how women are. Women. Women don't want desperation from a man either. But uh, yeah, everyone wants to be wanted. Manon, you're right about that. Yeah, I have to agree with that too, Manon. Everyone needs to, with your correction, everyone needs to be wanted. I mean, that's what we are. We're very social creatures. It's just in our nature to be social creatures. It's just in our nature to want to be uh our ultimate goal is to meet someone that means something to us. Um, you know, we all want that. We all want that. We all want someone to appreciate us for the things that we want to be appreciated for. Um, and it's a beautiful thing when it happens, and we're very lucky when that happens to us. Um, and we feel like we've won. We feel like we beat life when that happens. When that's isn't that the feeling, right? When you meet someone that's totally crazy about you, and you're totally crazy about them, and everything just clicks. You feel like fuck the rest of the world. Who gives a shit anymore? You know, this is it. This is life. This is life, and this is what's great about it. And and everything else is a fucking breeze. You know? Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right, Megan. It feels like winning the lottery. It feels like it feels like I just said. I mean, it feels like everything that you've ever wanted finally happened. You know, that's what's so beautiful about human interaction and finding someone that you meld with. You know, um, yeah, I was, you know, sometimes I joke, and I say, you know what, for all you married couples out there, here's my advice: get a divorce. But I'm joking. I'm joking. Um, but I think I think that you know when you meet that person, that one person who just brings out the best in you, and the reason why they bring out the best in you is because you want to be the best person you can for that person. And it's really a catch 22 because again, we come back to bettering ourselves for the right reasons, right? Um, because that doesn't matter to that other person. They appreciate it, but what really matters to them is that you're wanting to be a better person for yourself, right? They want to know that you, no matter what, you're going to be okay. You know, you love yourself no matter what, and they want to be part of that. They want to be part of that dynamic that you have with yourself. You know, and that just goes back and forth both ways between both people. Sometimes three people, sometimes even four. Not judging, not at all, but it does happen. You know, but that kind of appreciation, that genuine appreciation between those people it needs to happen for the relationship to absolutely work. Right, Bee Stinger. Okay. I hear this a lot too. Bee Stinger says, I found someone when I was happy being alone and found no one when I was looking. You put a little purple heart there. That's cute. But yeah, I mean, um, that's the thing about love, love finds us, right? I mean, isn't that how it always happens? It finds us. We don't find it, you know. It finds us. That's always the case. You know, isn't it crazy how the best things that seem to happen to us are things that find their way to us, not the other way around. You know, when you're just doing the best you can and being the best person that you can be, it attracts things to you. It attracts better things to you, you know. Um and that's a beautiful beautiful sentiment, you know. In my mind, I think that's the a very driving thought is to just, all you can do is just be the very, very best person that you can possibly be. And try your hardest to be the best person that you can possibly be. And 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 when you're doing that for the right reasons, the right person is going to appreciate that, and they're going to see this, and then they're going to come to you, you know and you're going to be so busy thinking about being the right person and so busy being grateful for the good things that you have in your life that you're just that person's going to be another part of that just I don't want to understate it by saying just another thing that you're grateful for, but it will be something else that you are grateful for, something that you'll be probably more grateful for than anything else, you know but I think uh people who genuinely have that sense of gratitude are probably the most attractive people. At least to me they are. When I meet women who have that genuine sense of gratitude towards everything, I'm just like, man, that's super hot. I I can't help it, you know. And it's not often that I see that, you know. It's not often that I see that. I um I met this one girl at work the other night. Um and well, I didn't just meet her. Um but I remember I certified her for rock climbing, and she was just so genuinely happy, right? She had a beautiful smile. She was gorgeous, right? And had a beautiful smile and just happy, and a high pitched voice and just upbeat. And she was with a guy, and I assumed it was, her boyfriend or husband or significant other in some form or another. And so I just appreciated the fact that she was smiley and happy, and it was like it was pleasant to see that. And and I found it very attractive, but I didn't, think anything beyond that, because I respected the fact that somebody else was benefiting from this. I assumed. And then she came into my job the other night after maybe about a month or two, and but she came in with her mom and her sister, and then they were guests, not members of the club. So they came in, and they she like they came to pick up their IDs, because the policy is if you're a guest using the club, you have to leave your IDs at the desk. And that's in case you go and do something fucking crazy, we know who you are. Or if something happens to you, uh we can contact the authorities and say, here, this is this person, and this is their information. You can use that to contact their family or whatever you need to do. um so anyway, I I'm getting off track, but she I was just being polite, and she gave me back the rock climbing harness that you pick up at the desk once you're certified. And like I said, I certified her like a month or two ago. Um, and then she was like, "Yeah, the guy I was with the last time, her husband took to it real, And I was like, wow. So it was her sister's husband. She was just there with her brother-in-law. Um, I assumed it was some guy she was with on a date, or something. Um, but she and then we just kind of talked. I mean, nothing's gonna happen. I'll probably never see her again or nothing like that because it's inappropriate to like hit on people at my job, so I don't do that. But uh she she I she ended up her mom ended up talking about her, which was really cute. Like, her mom was just so proud of her two grown daughters, and she was like, "Oh my God, you've got to see pictures, this and that." And she's like, "My daughter is an aerial acrobat. Did you know that?" And I'm like, "Well, no." So it turns out that uh, she's an aerial acrobat, and I found that incredibly attractive. How many people do you meet that are aerial acrobats? So I thought that was super cool. And you know, she pulled up her Instagram and started showing me pictures of her doing, the things that she does. And she said she did it for the circus. And I thought, holy shit. And then she said the funniest thing. She was like, I ran away from the circus. And I was like, wait. People run away to the circus. They don't run away from the circus. And she's like, yeah, whatever. And then apparently she's having uh some one of her family members is having some health issues, and she was in town and staying in town indefinitely until, but she lives in New York, and staying in town indefinitely, and taking a break from the aerial acrobatics thing while they help this person. And so, but man, that was just meeting her and being so impressed with her was more than enough for me. Frankly, I was just thrilled about that. To me, that made my day. Like, it literally made my day better, and I was just happy and grateful for that. You know, so you know, uh, and yeah, you're saying, okay, if it's meant to be, I'll see her again. But yeah, I'm not even thinking about that. You know, I mean, that's when turns where shit turns weird and bad, and it goes from just having a nice, pleasant memory to becoming some sort of fantasy. And then if I do see her again, then I'm gonna be all thumbs and I'll freak out. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that guy. So it's just more beneficial to everyone if I'm just like, um, that was it was a pleasant experience meeting and talking with her that one time. Not that, if something naturally happened, I would object to that. That's not what I'm saying. But you know I just the fact of that we were talking about how someone just being generally happy and grateful for the things in their life is enough to make them attractive, made me think of her. Um, so that's why I was telling you guys about it. Yeah, she was very interesting. Yes. Right. Beast Stinger. I love that point there that you're making to Megan and saying, um, that you're not scared to be alone because, right, being happy with yourself is super important, man. It just is. It's too important. You're not going to be any good to anybody else if you're not good to yourself, man. It's science. I can't explain the science. It's the way it is. I you know Fucking water's wet, man. You know, it's just the way that is. There's no other way around it. It can't be cheated. It can't be beaten. There's just no way around that particular formula. That formula is the formula, and that's how it works, and that's how you get that result. You cannot expect someone to be happy with you if you're not happy with yourself. It cannot be done. It can't be. Yeah, Boston hippie, you're saying, yeah, see what the universe brings. Right, exactly. You have to like, and that's where it's the religious thing. I hear a lot of Christians, like respectable Christians, that say, things like, if it's God's will, it's God's will. You know, um, people of all faiths say that. They say, hey, if it's God's will, it's God's will. That's that to me is the mentality to always be in. you know the minute you start to try to control these things, and I did a whole live about that, a week or two ago. And the minute that you start to control these things, man, is the minute that you go wrong. you know that's the best way I could describe that. That's the best way I could describe um why I want, uh why I leave it to what it is. I just appreciate the fact that I met this person and she impressed me, and it's a pleasant memory. And I'm very grateful for that. you know so you know um eh, I don't want to be the type of person that wants more out of it, because then that ruins that gratitude. Then I start to expect something. And then the minute that you start to expect something, you try to control something. And the minute that you try to control something, you've lost your sense of gratitude for it. And I don't want to lose my sense of gratitude for it. Okay, so mommy for the win. All right, are you and this is I realize it's a personal question. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to. Are you gay? And if you've said this before and I missed it, I apologize. Or maybe I'm misreading the the comment. And yeah, Megan, for sure. Those simple encounters. Okay, yeah, I did misread the comment. Okay. Sorry, it's hard to keep up with the chat when I'm running my mouth. So, okay. Okay, so I'm getting all right. Now it's getting more into perspective what you were saying. You're saying basically a guy was saying that, or a girl's smiling at me, blah blah blah, and I felt a connection, blah blah blah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, that is weird. People have those, and but there's a lot of people that think that what all those ads are doing is playing to a demographic, and a very very large demographic of people who think on that level, who think that every time that they have a very pleasant encounter with someone of the opposite sex, that it's romantic or sexual on some level. And that's not the case. Like, a lot of the time it's not the case, most of the time. you know um but yeah, I mean, that's the way to play off that. I mean, if I'm running a dating site and I'm thinking of marketing, then yeah, I'm going after those people who think that, that there's love everywhere. you know Right, yeah. Yeah, it I mean it I think it always means something, but it doesn't mean that it's romantic or sexual necessarily. But it always means something to me it means something when someone is kind enough to open the door for me and hold it open. It always means something to me, but that's because I make it mean something to me. I serve to me the small gesture of someone being kind resonates with me because I open myself for it to resonate that way with me. Um, but I don't automatically think that because it's a hot girl that she wants me. you know, I just I've conditioned myself to just see it as a you know act of kindness, um, and 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 just appreciate living in a world where people just do random acts of kindness, and it's okay. I don't even know if I should laugh at that, Manon. I mean, that's yeah, that Jesus. Um, and that happens all too often, man. Ugh, gross, 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 gross. Um, and don't get me wrong, Manon. I got the joke. Small gesture thing. Yeah, I got the joke, but ugh, I'm weird about people, grown men behaving that way towards young girls. It's not cool. Manon just like, but mommy for the win. Don't get upset. Manon just likes to fuck with people. She's got an odd sense of humor, and I can appreciate that. She's just being silly. She's she's dancing on the edge. She likes to do that. That's okay, and that is totally welcome here, by the way. And I gotta say, guys, I'm having more fun doing this sober. Like, I'm not claiming sobriety at all, but um I'm having more fun doing this sober, drinking coffee, than drinking alcohol because uh I don't know. I mean, I like to drink every now and then. It's okay. But uh doing this sober as opposed to drinking alcohol is much more rewarding and pleasurable to me. So I just wanted to state that for the record. And not against anybody else who's got some adult beverages in hand right now. I hope you're having a good time, and cheers to you. Um, so yeah, man, drink up, knock yourselves out, have fun. Uh, Nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying, me personally, I'm just sharing that with you guys. I'm actually liking it a bit more. Because it's fun to actually be able to remember what I was talking about the following day. So you quit drinking, Bee Stinger? You drank for the last time on the weekend. You're done with that shit now. Over it is what you're saying. Wow. I'm not saying that I quit drinking. I'm not, what I did quit. Well, no, I can't even say that yet. Um, but what I'd like to say that I'm quitting is the dependency. See, that's the thing, man. I went through some crazy, crazy the last 2 years have been fucking hell, man. Now, this past like 8 months have been really, really good. Past 8 or 9 months have been pretty fantastic. But the year and a half before that, man, what a bitch. But yeah, it's 2:30 p.m. in Australia. Yeah. But yeah, man, the last year and a half was a fucking bitch, dude. It sucked. And um and a lot of it, whether I want, I like I said before, I didn't drink like to the point where I acted crazy or anything. But the fact is I wasn't on my A game. So I don't get to say that drinking didn't have any effect on it because, if I wasn't on my A game and I was drinking, then it's probably fair to say that alcohol probably had something to do with me not being on my A game, right? That's fair. So I need to take some accountability for that. Um, and And yeah, Kathleen, I prefer to smoke weed too. And I smoked earlier, but after I showered and had coffee, like it went away. It was just nice to like smoke with my buddy and catch up with him because he was in Tampa for a while, and I've been taking care of his dogs, and I love taking care of his dogs, and I love hanging out with him, and he's just a fantastic dude. But anyway, I went through some shit, and then I decided, you know what? I'm gonna go to AA meetings. I'm gonna give that a shot. And I went to like 3 or 4 meetings, and I just decided, man, this shit is not for me, dude. It is not for me because I couldn't relate to anybody there. And this is the reason why I could not relate to anyone there. These people, they were trading one dependency for another. And I was not there. That wasn't happening for me. These people, like, these are people that were on the edge of their seat every moment, fighting having a drink. That's not me. That's just not me. And I'm not faulting these people or judging them. That's not what I'm doing. I'm saying, if AA is what works for your sobriety, and you're the type of person to where you drink and your life falls apart because you drink, then you shouldn't be drinking, and you should be taking whatever measures you need to quit drinking. And if that is the most effective measure for you to quit drinking, then more power to you. So I'm not at all faulting these people, but me, I'm the kind of guy that if I have a dependency on drinking, I don't want to just beat the dependency on drinking by trading it for the dependency on being around other people who are struggling with the same dependency. Fuck that. I want to kick that dependency. I want to kick the dependency on a dependency, if that makes any sense. I don't want that shit hanging over my head. I don't want a drink all the time. I don't want to, I want to beat whatever's in me that makes me feel like I have to have a drink. You know what I'm saying? So going to a meeting, every time I feel like having a drink, that's just not fucking enough. That's not enough. I don't want to live with that shit. I don't want to live with that shit. So I want to figure out what in me is it what demon in me is causing me to feel the need to do that all the time and making me feel like I have to get it done and I have to do it. And I want to beat that demon. You know, I don't want to sit there and talk about that demon all the time with people who have similar demons. Fuck that shit. Can't do it. You know, it's not going to work for me. So that's where I'm at. I'm traveling down that road right now. I'm not struggling with alcoholism. I'm struggling with happiness. I'm trying to be happy. You know, that's people drink like that because they're unhappy. So figure out what makes you happy. And sometimes, man, being in an AA meeting fucking 6 times a week, that's you know sometimes people go 14 times a week. I mean, that's crazy. Sometimes people go 20 times a week. and they find solace in that. They find happiness in that, and that's hey, cool, but I know if it were me, I would be trading one dependency for another. I want to kick the demon that makes me feel like I need to be dependent on something like that. So I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to be that, because I don't feel like I achieved anything. I don't feel like I overcame anything or accomplished anything necessarily, or I just don't feel like I accomplished or overcame enough. So that's my take on AA as far as I'm concerned. I'm not faulting anybody else for it. Obviously, it wouldn't be around for so long if it didn't work. you know, I mean, I remember and it was a great experience. Um, it was a great experience in the sense that like I met some really really interesting people. They had some really interesting stories, and there was one guy who was a lawyer, uh, a trial lawyer, and this guy was like in his late 70s and still an active lawyer, but he was sober for something like, I think it was like 45 years. um yeah, something crazy like that, like 45 years this guy was sober. And he was, everybody loved him and everybody respected the hell out of him. um even me, I felt in awe of him when I was in the same room with him, and I heard him speak and I heard him testify. It was incredible. um but um but yeah, I like the idea of being able to be the kind of guy where if I feel like it, i can I can go get some fucking booze and listen to some music, because I like that feeling of listening to music when I'm drinking. you know Not, I don't want to use alcohol as something to numb pain. I want to use it as something to enhance a good time. I don't need it to enhance a good time, but I like it. So, uh, but if I needed it, well, I'd be drinking right now. I would have been drinking last night, which I wasn't. I would have been drinking the last time I went live, which I wasn't. Time before that I was. But even still, a lot of the times that I go live, I'll crack open a bottle of wine and I'll take like maybe 5 sips of it, but then the rest of it I'm putting on earbuds and I'm jamming out to some music, and then I go to sleep. Yeah, what the fuck is a dry drunk? And not only does overindulgence kill options, uh Megan, but it overindulgence like ruins shit for you. I mean, you can only watch the same movie so many fucking times before you get sick of it. I mean, there's movies I'll never get sick of, or it seems like I'll never get sick, but I'm sure I will at some point. There's movies that I thought I'd never get sick of, but now I'm like, like I've seen The Big Lebowski probably 100 times, but now when it's on, I'm like, Jesus, okay, that's enough. You know, I mean, anything. I'm only using a movie as an example because it's something that I love, but even that will get fucking tiresome after a while. The same movie will get fucking tiresome after a while. In fact, sometimes movies get tiresome for me. I can't remember the last time well, okay, the last time I actually sat down and watched a movie from beginning to end was Shazam. And it had been weeks before that I did that. Mommy for the win is asking me if I've seen Law Abiding Citizen. Have I seen Law Abiding Citizen? Um, I have seen Law Abiding Citizen. I did like it. I like the premise of it. That's for sure. Because you can't fight fate. Yeah, man. I loved Gerard Butler's character in that. That was just a fun, cool movie, man. Like I I I like Jamie Foxx as an actor. I just didn't like him that much in that role. I would have liked to seen somebody else in that role. But I thought Gerard Butler was like great. Very interesting character. Um yeah, I liked it's kind of corny in that sense, but I loved, you know, there was things happening because what I loved about Gerard Butler's character is he's an anti-hero. I like anti-heroes. I like people who are I I like anti-heroes, and I like villains that I can that you have to struggle with whether you like them or not, you know. Um and make no mistake, Gerard Butler was a villain. The question is, was he justified in his actions for what he was doing? You know, I mean, he was killing innocent people. You know, so no, I'm gonna go ahead and say no. Um, but was it understandable? I'm gonna go ahead and say no on that too. Because bottom line is, man, okay, the justice system failed you, and so you start killing everybody involved in the justice system because the people who were responsible for your family's murder got away with it. Yeah, he was killing innocent people. Mommy for the win. Remember, he blew up that girl's car. The girl who was the paralegal. She didn't have nothing to do with nothing. He blew up her car with her in it. That wasn't cool. She shouldn't have been killed. Yeah. Well, Batman is written as an anti-hero sometimes, Minon. Um, and I like when that happens. And there's always like something that makes it make sense as to why he was doing what he's doing. The only time is, I mean, like it's never justified. Like it's funny. Like one of my favorite Batman stories is Return of the Dark Knight. It's written by Frank Miller, and it's incredible. It's so good because the premise of that is Batman is already like into his like late 60s. You know, he's old, but he's still a badass. I mean, he's Batman, so he's in shape and everything, and he's kind of disappeared. And uh but he comes back because it's necessary. Like Gotham City is crazy, it's worse than ever. So he comes back, and and he's old Batman, but at this point, because he's old, he's just like fuck it. So he actually kills criminals instead of just like beating them up and tying them up and taking them to the police station or waiting for the cops to pick them up, all beat up and whatever. He like he just says fuck it and kills him. Uh, so so it makes for an interesting Batman story. Uh, so there in Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, I'd say Batman is definitely an anti-hero. And yes, Frank Miller is a genius, Scott. I agree with you. And yes, Frank Miller is fucking awesome, Manon. I agree with you too. Um, did you all know that he wrote the screenplay for RoboCop 2? Do yourselves, if you haven't seen RoboCop 2 since it came out, Do yourself a favor and watch that. If you're Frank Miller fans, watch RoboCop 2 again, and like knowing that it's a Frank Miller screenplay. It's fantastic. like, like you watch it and you're just like, man, this movie sucks. It's not like anywhere near the first one. And then you watch it again knowing it's Frank Miller and you're like, wait a minute, this movie's great. Well, no, Manon, he doesn't become Dexter. Batman doesn't become Dexter because Dexter still has to keep his secret, and Batman is more like, I don't give a shit. I'm Batman, and cops could never catch me before, so they're not going to catch me now. So I'm just going to kill him and let him know that I did it, and fuck him. It's That's the difference. Dexter was way more covert and had to keep his secret, and that's kind of him keeping that a secret about himself was what tied that whole story together and made it work. Are all my mods gone? I have been on for a long time. Wow. Yeah. I went on at like 10. I've been on for like 3 hours, guys. I don't have Amazon Prime, mommy, for the win. I it's hard for me to recommend movies on here. People do that sometimes. No, I don't need the mods, but it would have been nice if they would have said goodnight, or and I'm gonna feel like a dick if they did and I didn't see it. Um but yeah, it's hard for me. People sometimes ask me to recommend movies, mommy, for the win, but the thing is it's difficult for me to do that because I don't know what you've seen. So whenever people ask me to recommend movies, you know, I start naming them off, and then they'll be like, seen that one, seen that one. I don't like that actor, blah blah blah. So I don't do that. How about we just stick with you tell me a movie that you've seen, and I'll let you know that I've seen it or not, and chances are I've seen it. So uh, you know, we can talk about it. um, oh, man, we tried to do that before. Tell me your top five. Um, okay. I'm gonna name five movies that I really like a lot. I've never actually like put them in any order, but first ones that come to mind: One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Shawshank Redemption, um, Warrior. That's a movie that I really love. Like I cry every time I see that movie. I cry every time I see Shawshank Redemption too. Um, but yeah, Warrior with Nick Nolte, Tom Hardy, and Joel Edelson, I think is his name. Um, that movie to me is beautiful, and I'm going to count the entire Rocky franchise, including the Creed franchise. I'm going to include that as one pick. So I love the whole Rocky franchise. I adore it. So far we got One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Shawshank Redemption, the Rocky franchise, Warrior, and I'm going to go ahead and throw in for number five. That's going to be a tough one, man. I'll have to think about that for a second. Um, see. Um, I don't know. Pick any. I'm going to say Reservoir Dogs. Probably Reservoir Dogs is going to be on that top five list. All right. So who's my favorite Batman actor? Um, I'm going to say Michael Keaton is probably my favorite Batman actor. I think the Dark Knight trilogy is the best Batman live action Batman adaptation put on screen. Um, but I hated Christian Bale as Batman. I thought he was a fantastic Bruce Wayne, but I hated Christian Bale as Batman. His voice was over the top. He had a lisp. It just bothered me. Um, I couldn't take his face seriously. I couldn't take him. I didn't find him intimidating the way that I should find Batman intimidating. Michael Keaton did a good job of making Batman a very intimidating figure. But but Christian Bale as Batman being a mouth breather and talking, it bugged me, and it didn't. I couldn't do it. Um, I think Ben Affleck was a great Batman, but a horrible Bruce Wayne. I just don't like Zack Snyder. I don't like the way he was directed, but I thought that Ben Affleck's Batman in Batman versus Superman was really good. Again, anti-hero. There was they couldn't take it as far because kids were going to watch it, but they were trying to do a Batman or Dark Knight Returns type take on that Batman character um in Batman versus Superman. So instead of killing the criminals, he was branding them, which is still pretty dark. But all right. Kathleen, I'm removing you from the chat for saying that you liked Val Kilmer's Batman. You're not allowed here anymore. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. But Val Kilmer's Batman was awful, dude. But you like what you like. That's cool. Amy Adams was Todd in Batman versus Superman. Amy Adams was Lois Lane, dude. Who's Todd? Is that a typo? Oh, okay, it was great. Okay. I was like, who the fuck is Todd? Hey, be careful, man. I'll boot somebody for saying some fucking stupid shit, but nobody has really. Um, but man, you say some dumb shit about Batman, I'll get tempted. I won't do it, but I'll get tempted. I'm not. Yeah, see, I'm not a big Amy Adams fan as far as hotness goes, Scott. I'm not really feeling her in that sense. I thought Margot Kidder was a really hot Lois Lane, actually. Um, but yeah, I couldn't. Um, yeah, and nobody mentioned George Clooney. That's funny. Yeah, Clooney. Clooney was awful. He had the right look, I guess, but like he has the right jaw, I guess, for a superhero. Avenger. Avenger the superhero. That's funny as shit. Um oh yeah, Scott. I'm really into those. I talked about that on another live that you may not have caught, but I was saying, man, that the Avengers was seeing these Avengers live action movies, man. Um I've been waiting my whole life to see these done. I was actually talking to a buddy of mine on Facebook about how DC is really shitting the bed, man, when it comes to these movies and why it's happening. Like why is it so difficult to do these movies right? It's bugging me. Um, because Marvel is doing an incredible job making these movies. And yeah, I loved Marvel comics as a kid, man. And I read the Infinity War in the early '90s, and I loved it, and it was amazing. So you know, it's crazy, man. If I were to like, if I were to take, uh, if I were able to take somebody, uh, living in 1988 right now and show them an Avengers movie, much less an Infinity War movie, one of the two Infinity War movies, man, their mind would fucking be blown. Like their head would explode. They wouldn't be able to compute the fact that they just saw that shit on screen. Uh, so it's super cool that I'm getting to see this, that we are getting to see these things brought to life on screen in our lifetime. Uh, and I didn't think that would ever happen, not in the way that it's happening. You know, I would have settled for just some cheesy special effects and whatever. But to see them done the way that they're done now is just so cool that we're able to see this in our lifetime. So yeah, to answer your question, Scott, I'm a big fan of these Marvel movies. They're doing a really good job with them. Um, because the comic books are so well written, and these movies are holding so true to them, and that's what we really want, you know. Yeah, that's my point. I That's funny that you say that about, a minor character like Black Panther. Um, because I mean, the whole thing about Black Panther was, that was almost the equivalent of uh the purpose of them inventing Black Panther in the 60s, in the late 60s, early 70s, and making him a character was to target the black demographic. They didn't have a hero, and they did a good job with that, and it would have been one of the last things that you would have seen brought onto the big screen in this huge Marvel Cinematic Universe that they made. And it was, they did such a great job with it, um and he wasn't such a major character in the Marvel world in the comic books, but now he's, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has written him to be such a key player. It's so great. And I mean, they were able to take they were able to take Ant-Man and do the same. I mean, who would have thought Ant-Man would be interesting? Um, and yeah, man, I was really excited. I think it sucks that they canceled these Marvel movies and the Marvel shows on Netflix. Like, I thought they did a great job with the Punisher. That was the best Punisher ever put on screen, live action. Uh, and Power Man and Iron Fist, man. I read those comics as a kid. I loved Power Man and Iron Fist. I fucking loved Power Man and Iron Fist. I remember as a kid, I had a comic book of when Iron Fist actually got killed. Um, Maybe a comic came out afterwards that brought him back to life, but it was crazy. Oh, the Daredevil series was incredible, Scott. The Daredevil series was really, really good. That was so well done. Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin was amazing, like captivating, so well done. That one fight scene between Daredevil and him, man, I was like, what the fuck? This is so good, and I'm seeing it on Netflix. So, Beastinger, your son is obsessed with Green Goblin. Wow, I never heard of that. That's like me being obsessed with Kiss as a little kid. I never even heard of that. No, I did not like Affleck as Daredevil. I liked the movie to a certain degree. I liked Affleck as Daredevil. I didn't like him as Matt Murdock. He got on my nerves as Matt Murdock. It wasn't believable at all. Um, but I liked him as Daredevil. There he was very cold and I hated the soundtrack. Evanescence gets on my nerves. So I didn't really like the movie as much as I would have liked to. Um, but I did like the idea of I did like Michael Clark Duncan as Kingpin. I thought he was a great Kingpin. Yeah, I liked Colin Farrell as Slingshot too. Or yeah, or is his name Slingshot? His name's not Slingshot, is it? Uh am I tripping? Is his name Slingshot? Um Bullseye. No, his name's Bullseye. Yeah, Colin Farrell was Bullseye. Um but yeah, and then I started thinking of Deadshot and Will Smith. Yeah. I I I would have liked to seen Johnny Depp play Deadshot in Suicide Squad. I knew Suicide Squad was going to suck. Oh, I don't even know what you fuckers are talking about, Beasting. You guys are talking about scrunchies and hello over here. We're talking about superhero movies. Hello, women. You need to get in with the conversation. I'm just kidding. You can talk about fucking scrunchies in my chat. I don't give a shit. But you're only going to get to talk about scrunchies for another moment or so. Because I'm about to call it a night, man. It's 1:20 in the morning, and I again had an amazing time with you guys tonight. Oh, of course you're talking about Aquaman. Of course you're talking about Aquaman. Um, that's the smartest thing DC did, was to cast Jason Momoa as Aquaman so that they could target the female demographic. Very, very good marketing there on their end. Kudos, DC. Too bad you can't write a decent fucking movie. But anyway, yeah. Thanks everybody for logging on. Thanks for being awesome in the chat as you always are. Thank you so much. You guys are the shit. Remember, man, email me the glare 360 at gmail.com. All right. Because I'm gonna get back to like talking about actual topics and staying on topic. So that's gonna happen. And I want to know what you guys want to talk about. So, this isn't just my channel here. This is for you guys too. So I want to be able to talk about stuff that you guys want to talk about, and any personal stuff that you guys are dealing with, even subjects regarding personal things that you're dealing with. We can talk about that. We could talk about marriage. We could talk about divorce. We could talk about, uh, all kinds of shit, you know. So I just want to know what resonates with you guys. So be sure to email me with with any type of feedback that you guys want to, and also leave comments if you want, whatever. I love the comments. I love when people leave comments, man. I've got nothing. I haven't had to delete any comments. I've got nothing but positive comments, and that is so cool. So you guys are really really awesome, man, and I'm really really grateful for you. So thank you so much for being awesome. And I will see you guys maybe tomorrow again. I might log on again tomorrow because I'm off tomorrow. So I'm gonna work out and all that stuff, and then it'll be another late night. But If you guys are on, then I'll be on. I love talking and hanging out with you guys. So maybe I'll be on tomorrow. Anyway, everybody have a good night. And in the words of Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other and party on, dude.